Ladies and gentlemen, today we have someone very special to us, special to this house, a member of this team. I mean, if you've heard her speak, you know that she's someone who is very passionate about what she does and what she says. She's a friend of the house, a member of the house. She's no other than the one and only, let me use that my word now, delectable Olamma. Chinwe. I love calling her Chinwe, but she doesn't like me calling her Chinwe. Ola, welcome to today's show.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm fine.
You're looking better. You're looking good.
Thank you.
You've added something.
No good yet.
Yeah.
First call me delectable like that we want to.
No, on the most serious, I can see the radiation, the glow all over.
Glow from where?
The glow all
No,
over.
not be only the glow.
This must be divine glow.
Well, that one, yes. Definitely divine glow.
Divine
There's
glow.
You know, they say you glow differently when there's some trends on maybe social media, TikTok, Instagram, talk about how you glow. The glow hits differently when you are with your man. And then you now see the next slide, your man is now Jesus.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah, so...
We all definitely glow better with Jesus.
Yeah, I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you the truth.
It's good to have you on the show today.
It's good to be here.
Thank you very much for coming, for taking out time to come.
Thank
I
you
really
for
appreciate it.
having me.
All
Anytime.
right. So today we're going to be looking at a topic that is not often spoken of,
Okay.
but it's a reality, something that affects a lot of us. Has affected even someone like myself at some point in life, and I'm sure someone out there looking, it has affected you. How it has affected, I don't know, but we're going to talk about it, and it's the topic. The topic is healing childhood wounds.
Okay.
How do we heal from childhood wounds? What are those wounds? When I mean wounds, I don't mean physically where you're running or you're riding your bicycle, you fell off, or you're in a scooter, you fell off, and you had bruises on your leg. When I mean wounds, I mean emotional wounds.
Okay.
Wounds that are scars, not like that are scars on the fiber of your emotion or your spirit self. What are those wounds? What would you describe as childhood wounds before even delving into the healing process?
Well, as you were saying it and trying to say what it is not, I just had flashbacks. You're like, oh, it's not when you're running and you fall, scrape your knees, sustain injuries and all that, suffer bruises and scratches. I just had flashes of me as a kid. And somewhere in my mind, I was trying to remember when or where I ran or fell or bruised or anything, and the memory is faint. I know for a fact that, as you're asking what is childhood wounds, they are the type of wounds that make you want to suppress pain, because at the time you're a child and you don't know how to process articulately your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, your fears, whatever it was that brought you pain. So what you do is you hide. Childhood wounds are things that come and sometimes steal your voice. In my own experience, and I believe I'm allowed to talk about it. I mean, the whole purpose of this show is to talk about those things. My own childhood wound robbed me of my voice. And so I found myself several times when there was a similar scenario trying to repeat. You know, what happens is these things now, it's like they create a doorway for this pattern or for this event to become a pattern, and then you grow up with it. And if you don't address it, it starts to define your person as an adult. So childhood wounds are things that, like I said, rob you of your voice, your identity, your peace, that turn you from that little innocent light that you were, budding flower, into sometimes just ash, and sometimes thorns, and sometimes turn you into something that you can't recognize.
Why are they difficult? Why? I mean, you sound like someone who has loads of those experiences.
I am someone who has loads of those experiences.
Why is it difficult? Why does it remain a fresh wound? Or I mean, why would it remain? I mean, if something happened maybe 20, 15, 30 years ago, why does it still linger after many decades?
Well, sometimes, like my daughter had what do you call this?
Blister?
No, splinter yesterday, and she kept hiding it from me. I noticed she sat on the couch, and occasionally when our eyes would meet, she would just move her hands out of focus while still focusing her gaze on me. But she didn't know that what was happening was, I'm a mother now. So while I was still keeping my eyes, my gaze, my focus on her, even while flashing her a smile, I was using the side of my eye, using my side eye to look down, to see what was happening. And I knew there was something going on. I knew she was hiding something. I didn't know what it was. But much later in the night, my neighbor's daughter called my attention to say she had a splinter and it was hurting. So what had happened was she was playing in school, mistakenly brushed her hands against the desk. So perhaps the edge of the desk was rough, and so a piece got into her palm. Fear of what would happen. Maybe would mom blame me for this? Or will it hurt if mom is trying to take this out of my hand? Whatever it was, made her think, I can take care of this myself. And the more she struggled with it, the worse it got.
The more she struggled with it, the worse
it got. So thank God for my neighbor who called, and I told her, sweetie, it's not going to hurt. Not as much as you think anyway. And eventually, after much tears and persuasion, she let me have her hand, and I picked on it until it came out. Sometimes, why these wounds linger is because you are on your way to being an adult. Childhood is not a final destination.
True.
You're supposed to become an end product. So it's like what goes into your pot when you're trying to make jollof rice is what's going to become the jollof rice. So all of us were designed to become this adult. So what goes into that molding process? Maybe your parents took something wrong when you were still at conception level. Those things can alter one or two things, affect an organ, leave a person looking deformed. It's the same thing. Why did that baby come out deformed? Because something was done to tamper with their formative process. So as a child, that is your second formative level. And so if something is done to affect you, ultimately, what you are supposed to be is an adult functioning as a single person, as a unit. So if Ramim is using language devil, I know this is not predominantly a religious show, but if the devil can have access to your formative years, he can tamper with, he can alter who you're supposed to be, so that in your place of purpose, you are scarred and you malfunction. And
in your place of purpose, you are scarred.
And then you start to affect other people. So these things come because sometimes you're afraid to address them. Sometimes you don't even know they're there.
They're there.
So sometimes God might just need to send a kind neighbor's daughter to you to say, hey, look, you have a blister. In this sense, an emotional blister.
So most of us, we've been carrying this blister and this splinter.
Blister and splinter, all of them.
All we carry them.
Yes.
And they make us react even as grown-ups.
Yes.
Because there was probably no adults there, just like you talked about your daughter, you mentioned your daughter, okay, she had the splinter, and it took someone else to come and tell you, and she submitted herself to you to investigate and help her through the process.
Yes.
So most of us, for a lot of people out there, and maybe myself included at some point, we didn't really have someone to
notice.
To notice that. We probably had expectation of people that you should see that this is what I'm going through, this is what I've been through in life. You should see now. Maybe you are looking at
they show for head.
They show for head. Okay, I get it. So basically, some people don't come out of it through their adults because they were maybe private about it. It was a secret they kept.
Yeah, okay.
Or they were not free enough.
Yes, depending on the environment, permit me to say. If they felt terrified by the kind of parents or guardian they grew up with, who might blame them? Now imagine
who might blame them. Because another thing again, some parents who would blame you.
Wait, so as things take cost for this country, but see they try to do now, may you go enjoy yourself, begin bring money, carry goes to stupid child, foolish boy, they crazy. The child won't tell you that they're hurt. If I tell and then it might not even be that harsh. It might be a poor parent and the child is trying to feel sorry for their parents. My mom doesn't have money to treat me. Let me treat myself. Children are kind. They're the kindest people you will ever meet. And that is why the devil targets them. Children are just kind. So if he can get them before they are grown, tamper with their heart, turns them to his many minions and demons, he can wreak havoc, which is his ultimate purpose.
All right. So, why do unresolved childhood wounds affect relationship? Why? Like, okay, you've talked a lot about it, but like, to someone out there watching and trying to make sense of this or relate with it, why would a wound, an injustice, or an attack or antagonism or whatever I experienced 15, 20 years ago, why or how can it affect my present day relationship with other people?
Good question. Okay, there's something I tell people because besides image consulting, I'm also a therapist, a massage therapist.
Yeah.
And I realized that a lot of times when clients call me to say, oh, I would like to have a massage, they just think I'm going to jump and say, yeah, sure, goody, because I want your money, So, but they're surprised, a lot of them, when I say, why do you want to get a massage? They say, Auntie, I don't understand. Don't you want the money? I say, believe me, I'll collect plenty money from you, but let's ascertain why you want a massage first. And you find out they say things like, oh, my joints are aching. I'm having malaria. And then I tell them, well, a massage is the last thing you need. And when they ask me why, I say, well, let me explain it in as simple terms as I can. Malaria, whether it's just at the budding stage or it's full blown, it's just like having a snake bite. So it's just the venom, you're feeling the sting. And how you know, because every disease has to say, oh, this is what makes me unique. When I come into your body, I do this. When I come in here, so malaria hurts you at your joints and sometimes leaves you with blisters around your mouth or leaves your mouth sour. That's how you know it's malaria. And so if I now come and massage you, what I've done is help spread that venom. So if it was just in just your hand, your knee,
It's
by
to
the time I
spread to other
massage you,
parts.
I will not spread. So you will now come back feeling worse.
Worse.
And you'll say that me, I collected your money. So I said that to say this. Why do these things affect you in adult life? If you don't address this thing that is maybe was done to affect your sense of self-worth, was done to affect this area of your life, if you don't address it when it is full-blown, when you're an adult, it's going to show. If you don't address malaria at its budding stage, it could get worse.
How do they
How do they
how
get
do they
worse?
identify?
How do they identify?
Yeah.
Yeah, so someone who suffered childhood wounds, for instance, now, let's say someone who suffered sexual abuse,
Yeah.
for instance, that's the most common one.
Yeah.
But okay, let me say somebody who suffered verbal abuse, for instance, might grow up feeling inferior. Somebody who was over-criticized, over-condemned, never experienced what you call appraisal. Nobody ever gave them a thumbs up. Sweetie, you don't know watch this plate.
Wow.
Try telling a child who you just told for the first time, maybe they just turned 7. Oh, my darling, you're washing your dishes today. You know you are tall now. You can reach the sink. And now try telling that child, come on, go and wash your plates. And the child, cries and goes. Try telling that child the same thing, but in a different way. Sweetheart, guess what? We're going to wash plates today. And the child says, yeah, me and mommy are doing something fun. Then you are washing plates, you make a mess, you spill soap, and then you laugh. For that child, that was sweet. For the other child, it was sour. This child is going to grow up always looking forward to doing dishes with our own child, while the other one is going to escape. So imagine having a wife now who was always verbally criticized, condemned. Look, I can't wash plates, can't clean house, can't do anything all the time. The person is not even going to expect good from themselves. So how can they give it to you? So people like that, sometimes they say hurting people hurt people. That person might grow up. Some people are interesting, because I heard of 2 boys who had a murderer as a father. And then they were both interviewed on separate accounts, or is it separate counts, when their father was brought to justice and killed. They asked both of them, and interestingly, they both gave the same answer, interviewed separately. They said, why did your life turn out like this? So one took after the father, and then the other one built a very clean slate for himself. He was a business person. They both gave the same answer. They said, with a father like that, how else could I have turned out? Meaning you can still make the choice to not be this person, what you're coming from, the pain you suffered. You don't need to be the wound, the pain that you're carrying. And so it affects people in their relationships when they refuse to acknowledge that, oh, this is what I suffered, this is what it's doing to me, and as such, this is what is making me do to other people.
That self-awareness, why is it important? That
Why?
acknowledgement.
Oh, because that's the first point to recovery. That's the first point to healing. Admittance. God Himself says you need to confess first. Confession is you seeing that there's a problem needs to be addressed. Like you're sick and you don't tell the doctor, you will stay sick now. You'll stay sick, you'll die. You might die depending on the sickness. So if you want healing, you need to get speaking.
If you want healing, you need to get speaking.
Yeah.
Wow. So confession is key.
Yes.
Being self-aware is very,
Yes.
very key.
That's like when my daughter finally said, Mommy, I need you to take this thing out of my hand. When she was hiding it, she was hurting herself. It was getting worse. Now imagine somebody trying to play with her who did not know that she had a splinter and just comes and grabs her hand. The first thing she's going to do in protecting that wound is probably going to leave me alone without even saying, oh, my hand is paining me. Imagine, reacting out of extreme pain. That's what we become as adults who are wounded, who don't know or who don't want to
healed from.
Who are not healed. Yes, so it's going to show up. You'll be snappy, you'll be grumpy, you'll be sad, depending on the wound and how it's affected you over time. So,
what's the role of forgiveness in all of this? There has to be a role of forgiveness. I personally believe that forgiveness is one of the greatest gifts. When you get to that point where you can forgive, I'm not saying forgive and go back to that abuse or go back to whatever triggered that trauma, but the concept of letting go, just freeing yourself from that prison, because I personally believe unforgiveness is like a prison.
It's not like it is.
It is like a prison cell, whereby, and it's like you giving so much power to whoever that person or whoever the people are. Whenever you see them, there's something in you that just feels uncomfortable. So and I don't want to be at that place. Never. I mean, it's something I'd experienced also in time past. I made a conscious, deliberate effort. Unforgiveness is like someone who's by the beach. Normally, trying to walk on the beach, the sea, the sand,
The
and
waves.
everything, it comes with a lot of burden compared to when you're walking on your tarred street. Your leg just goes, your flight goes, your movement goes smooth.
Wow, you'll be
but by the beach,
sinking.
it will be sinking. So now imagine someone who's going far.
Wow.
By walking by the seashore, going far, and has this burden of one big bag on his head, has another bag tied by the arms, some other ones by the laps, the leg, the feet, and in short, a big one on the chest and the back. Different burdens of bitterness.
Wow.
Unforgiveness. How can that person ever go far?
Oh, there's no way now. It's a no-brainer. The person is not going far, only that they're going far to their death.
That's why this question becomes imperative for me. That what role does forgiveness play in healing?
The role forgiveness plays is the role that only God could have initiated, because left to us humans, we are not letting go of that thing on. There's this thing that lets us feel that if I can hold that person in my heart, in my mind, in my thoughts, then I'll make them suffer for the pain they caused me. When actually, you're the one suffering. I remember many years ago, whilst dealing with someone who had hurt me, but at the time, he hadn't. So I said some things. We had talked at length and had mentioned, oh, this thing happened between me and this person, this thing happened to me and that person. And then he asked me a profound question, because I also learned much later after my encounter with this same person that the most valuable of lessons that you will learn, usually you will learn from the so-called bad person, the bad guys, the ones that hurt you, the people you label bad. You will learn the necessary, especially if you are a kind-hearted person. That's just how it is. Because good people are not going to go out of their way to teach you pain that will give you wisdom now. It's usually the bad guys. So he asked a question. He said, wait, so Ola, how come this person did so and so to you, but today they are making it in life, they're successful, and here you are. How are they progressing and you are not progressing? The kind of embarrassment.
Wow.
The kind of shame, the kind of confusion that hits me all at once. I was like, wait. I now started feeling that God was unjust, life was unfair. I'm the one that was abused. I'm the one that suffered the abuse. Why? Is it true though? Why? And the worst part, the most painful part was when I would find myself in situations where I would still call those people to ask for help. The thing, it hurt me like somebody was driving a knife. And for years, that question tormented me until I met someone else who told me of his own ordeal and how people had duped him and hurt him, and some of them were maybe in his immediate environment. I asked him a question. I said, so what did you do? He said, my sister, I forgive them. I said, why? He said, because if I'm not wishing them well, I can't rise.
If
But
I'm not wishing them well, I can't
rise.
rise.
So I had to let them go. The weight of the thought of what they did to me was dragging me down. It was affecting my creativity. It was affecting my peace. So I forgive them. I prayed for them and I let them go. After I let the whole thing go, justice came and took all of them one by one. So I learned that, first of all, the people or persons that abuse you might be somewhere planning someone else's an attack on someone else, and you may know, you may not know, but you may not have any direct control of what they are doing with their life, but you have direct control of what you're doing with your life. I found out that bitterness clouds blossoming. You can't blossom when you're bitter. You can't, and we are created.
You can't blossom when you are bitter.
Yeah, you can't. You get so, and that was why I named my first child Blossom. I found myself in a toxic environment. But to my surprise, the onions in my kitchen were budding, potatoes were sprouting, everything in the house, everything in the compound just started blooming. I said, despite everything that I'm going through, this child, I didn't lose this child. This child is growing. I said, your name will be called, you'll be called Blossom. So forgiveness frees you, sets you free. It makes you see clearer that the person that hurt you are not in any position to hurt you again if you let them go. But if you hold them close, I asked myself one question many years ago when I sat down to think about, telling God, God, I come before you today to ask for vengeance against this person that did this to me, And I remembered that in the course of being abused, I myself had also abused someone. And that's something a lot of abused people don't want to confront. Once you're abused, the tendency that you will abuse others becomes exponentially high. So I had abused someone. And so I asked myself, I said, so what do I want God to do to this person? And in that same moment, I said, okay, but the only reason I did this to this person is because this person did this to me. In that analysis of myself, my defense, I said, wait, that means somebody else probably did the same thing to that person. It was easy for me to forgive the minute I realized that I'm also an offender.
But it's easy for you to forgive where at the point you
I realized that
you're also
an offender.
How many people can be that sincere with themselves?
Not a lot of people.
Can say, look, I was also a part of the problem. You may
not have been a part of the problem, but if you just realize that just at the most basic of levels, you err. And you need forgiveness for even the slightest thing. You took somebody's sweet. You stole somebody's pen. You told a lie. Did you offend? Yes or no? That's why Jesus said, he who is without sin. So it may not be large-scale sexual abusing somebody, stealing millions from someone's account. You said something hurtful to a child. You told a lie. You took money that was not yours. Even if it was 1 naira, you took it. And you need forgiveness for that. Forgive the other person. Let them go. Like you said, it doesn't mean put yourself back in a situation where they can have more access to do more damage, because they are still healing. And as such, they are not in the best position to relate with you from a healthy place. They might still hurt you again. So forgive them, set healthy boundaries if you hadn't, move away. Forgive them, let them go. If it's possible, pray for them. As you pray for them, you heal yourself.
Is there a role for therapy?
Yes, of course. Therapy is really crucial because not everybody can articulate their thoughts. These things are gifts. The way a person is gifted with the ability to look at someone and say, this color will look nice on you. And that person can look at somebody and say, this thing needs light. This place needs, and then they go on to invent light. Oh, houses are nice, but I think they need things like cloths to cover the window. So let's make curtains. It's the same way. Someone says, I think people will feel better if they can talk about what's hurting them. And since God already made room for us to come before him and confess, you find that being in a place of therapy where you can speak your mind, talk to someone, makes you feel relief, sometimes helps with clarity, and then you find comfort that you're not the only person Yeah, that's why they advise you to talk to maybe therapists, because in trying to unburden your heart, you might talk to the wrong persons who go around announcing what you told them in confidence,
Yeah,
and that makes you feel worse.
vulnerable.
So there's a place for counseling, and you're advised to talk to professional counselors.
So for those who are all the toko people who, you know, you probably might share with, and they will start doing a pro up and down and say, you don't see that girl. I have this for you. I know what she has gone through, what she said this. But anyway, not to deviate, why do some people suppress, why do they try to like suppress those childhood pain as against recognizing it, you know, like probing themselves to see if this thing really is affecting me, if it's even there, if it's affecting me, and trace even the origin. Why do people, some people even, why do they try to suppress it, even though they know they are going through it or this thing is there, but they keep suppressing it? And from there's a case I would have loved to talk about, but maybe later, some other time. I realized that the more people hide, you understand, the pattern keeps coming up.
True.
That pattern of hurt keeps coming up,
Yes.
because it's not been addressed.
Mm-hmm.
It was a case of, let me just maybe brush it up on the surface. It was a case of essay. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it was like all those uncles in the neighborhood who would lure a teenage girl with
Sweets,
sweets and
biscuits.
biscuits. And she kept quiet. And the pattern continued, even with someone else. For me, like, even growing up, there are people who endured those things till their adulthood.
Yep.
Why do they think suppressing it would help them? I don't know. I'm confused.
Well, people sometimes don't deliberately suppress. Sometimes people don't deliberately suppress. But before I go into that, there's something I hear people say a lot. What you're not going to take on day 2, don't take on day 1. Yeah. So, but in order to be able to not take anything, you need to be vocal. You need to be bold. You need to be someone who speaks up. But
you need to be vocal.
yeah, you need to be vocal. But that is what I said. Like in my own case, my experience robbed me of my voice. And so when you can't speak, what do you want to say? That's one. Talk about the child who's afraid to show you their this word is just so I always call it blister splinter. They're afraid of judgment. They're afraid of condemnation. They're afraid of the other person's perspective. And then again, depending on how things played out when they experienced this thing, especially if they were kids. In my case, the person said, don't say anything to anybody. A lot of times, people who are assaulting you, abusing you, will threaten you. Either threaten you or trick you into silence. I heard somebody say, if you tell anybody, I'll kill your parents. Like I said earlier, children are kind. No child wants to be responsible for their parents' death. And this perpetrator has already gone the full length by putting the guilt of the supposed demise of said parent or guardian on the child. So the child is like, if I state something, their mother, my father, my uncle. So they endure in silence. As by so doing, you rob that child of that freedom of speech, that voice that is meant to say, I'll tell my daddy for you. I'll tell my mommy for you. You've taken it away from them. And when there's nobody to tell, they turn to walls. They turn to toys. They turn to sheets. They turn to darkness. They turn to anything that seems consolidatory at the time. And so when they grow up, they become people who were molded into silence, not by choice.
People were molded into silence.
Yes, not by choice.
Not by choice.
Not by choice. And so they suppress it. What if I tell this person? You find in some cultures, they say, only virgins are allowed to be married to men of such caliber. This girl did not disvirgin herself. Someone took that from her. Somebody stole her virginity. Every time she wants to look at herself from the perspective of, but I'm a chaste woman, that voice comes and, hey, I beg, shut up, you. And then the person self-condemns. And that can birth self-loathing. And that can birth stepping back, standing in the shadows, watching people take turns to ascend the throne when you were born for the crown.
Wow. So what habits can help for someone who feels what he or she is hearing right now is, has to do with his or her life? What step can it take?
Step number 1, scream.
Scream as loud as
Scream
possible.
as loud as you can.
Get on top of the mountain
Shout.
and shout.
When Bible doesn't say talk for joy, doesn't say whisper for joy. It says shout.
Shout for joy.
Shout for joy. And then the head of the Christian clan is known for one thing. He's the lion. Of all the animals that he can be associated with, it has to be the one that roars. So get out of your room. Get out of it. And I mean it. There's something that comes out of you when you scream, when you shout. As you're screaming, as you're shouting, if it is suppressed rage, it comes out. If it's suppressed tears, they flow out. Scream, shout first. When you have shouted, then breathe. It's very, very therapeutic. It's something I try to do before I sleep. No matter how tense my day has been, I try to do something silly. My kids always say, story. I may be exhausted, seeing double self, but immediately they beckon on me for a story. Something comes out. I don't have these stories written somewhere. They just come out. And I've been telling them stories for 3 years straight.
Wow.
If I had recorded every episode, I would have something to sell to other children now. So you something happens to you when you scream, when you shout, when you let off all that is inside you.
Screaming,
and once
is it just screaming? Just
yes,
on top of the, ah!
yes.
Oh.
I remember, honestly, you just go, ah! You try it when you're alone. Everything gathers together and comes out.
It's like a release.
It's a release, yes. Once you do that first, then your heart starts to beat fast. And the next thing you breathe calmly. And then you sit down and you ask yourself, who am I, first of all? What happened to me?
Who am I?
Who am I?
What happened to me?
What happened to me? Why did this happen to me? Oh, this happened to you because your parents did not understand boundaries. In my own case, it was this typical Igbo cultural approach to living together, this communal way of living. Is my sister's son, is my brother's daughter.
After all,
we are family.
We are family.
No, nobody even said cousins. Oh, one negi call is your brother. One negi, everybody was one negi. All one name call, all one name, so all one negi. So everybody come and live together. Where girls should have had a private room, all of us were sharing room. Then
with the boys?
Oh, yes. So. The person that molested me was in the same room with me. I slept on the floor. He slept on the bed. And it just started with, maybe just innocently, he was just growing up. He's growing up, minding his business. But, like fish to a cat. Would run to the bathroom without clothing. Yes, because this happens in some African homes. I've seen myself walking down the street to purchase 1 or 2 items, maybe in the nearest Aboki shop, and you see a girl, especially on Sundays, they just come back from church. Where you quickly go and buy rice at Malam says, let's cook rice, eat Sunday rice. The girl has just taken off her Christmas clothes and she's running to buy stuff wearing what? Just pants. One side of the pants has shifted. You can see one part of her bum bum. She's just a child. Oh, sorry, Laura, rice. And to you, it's nothing. To the boy across the street, that is bum bum. That is advertisement. That is enticing. That stays in his head, especially since men are stimulated by what they see.
Stimulated.
So he sees that bum today, sees it 6 months later, the bum has gotten bigger. So he's preparing. Something starts to tell him, that bum will make sense. Wow. So maybe in the person's defense who did this thing to me, he was just growing up in the same house with unprotected virgins. And the next thing, pass here today, pass tomorrow, and bum started looking delightful. He just found a means of income. So, okay, how will I lure her? My uncle will kill me. I need to find something. Okay, take sweets. Give everybody sweets, but give her 3. You gave me 3. In the innocence of my heart. And you're the finest.
Wow.
And that was it. You get. So what habits can help you heal? You let go. You let go. You recognize what happened to you. And then you start to ask yourself, what role did I play in what happened to me? As hard as that question might be to face, if you find out that you didn't have a role, forgive in complete manner. And don't make no mistakes about it. Forgiveness does not come at once. You can tell yourself, I forgive you. I forgive you. You know what? Leave before I change my mind. You can forgive a person today without even sounding dramatic, and 2 months later, the devil and your conscience and memory flashes gives you cogent reason to say, no, I don't forgive. What you did was too much. It was too painful. And then you hold on to it again. You cry a little longer. You pick the person. You curse the person. It's allowed. It's normal. It's natural. But what you can't do when those feelings come surging back like the wave that they can be is you take charge of the pain. Don't let it overwhelm you.
Don't let the pain overwhelm you.
I forgave this person. God, help me to remain in this place of forgiveness because I always need forgiveness. And then you let go.
What role should parents play? What are roles of parents in this? Because in your own case, uh, lumping cousins together, male and female together, and they were seeing
So
the
now
genitalias
lumping,
and everything.
lumping.
Boobies going left from the back. Like I'm trying to picture it, trying to make sense of what you're saying. What role should parents,
What
using this as a
roles
case
should
study,
parents play to
play
prevent these
to
things?
avoid and prevent
These
things like
things.
this?
Well, first of all, set healthy boundaries. My father, bless his soul, upon realizing what had been done, pulled out what you called back then koboko and beat the living daylights out of the perpetrator and, of course, threw him out of the house. But still, they didn't still go ahead to set healthy boundaries because much later, more cousins were brought to the house. Those ones only continued from where the first person stopped. So when something is not addressed, when it's not nipped in the bud, like you said, that is an open door for a pattern to be registered. In my case now, I have girls. So sitting down to ask myself, what happened? Who am I? I'm a girl who was born into this world. I didn't ask to be born, but I'm here. I must have a purpose. And then what happened to me? Oh, I experienced abuse. Okay, what role did I play? I just happened to be there. Okay, how can I prevent this from happening to me again? Don't be there. Maybe not necessarily in my father's house this time, but don't be in any place where I can be outnumbered, especially by the opposite sex, because I'm the female, I'm a weaker sex. And don't be in a place, like I saw in a movie years ago. This lady had been raped, like we say these days.
Yeah.
And so she was trying to learn martial arts. So every time she would pass by this martial arts studio, she would stop and look, and then she would run. So the instructor had noticed her glances and her stares and was praying that she would come in one day, which eventually happened. So he was standing, and let's say there was like a red part of the studio, and then there was a bland part, and then there was a line dividing. So he asked her, so what do you want? She said, oh, I was molested. And he said, what do you want? He said, I want to know how not to let that happen again. So he said, okay.
Self-defense, basically.
Yes. So he told her something, said, come. And then she came, and she was hesitant in her steps. He said, come. And she came again. He said, come. And she came very, very close. He grabbed her aggressively immediately. And she started trembling, wondering why I was doing that. He said, don't be here. First rule.
First lesson.
First rule. Where should she not be? Where she's vulnerable. Don't go close, too close that you can't run back. So close that you can't defend yourself. Don't get to a place where you are absolutely exposed to possible danger or harm. So what can parents do? Recognize that you have children to protect. Step up your game. Tell your children about these things. They exist. Don't quote it and make it look like it's a monster in the shadows. They exist. I told myself I was going to tell my girls, and I've been telling my girls that, there's something called, yes, although I have a fancy word for it, but they get the picture. And these things happen between boys and girls, and they're like, yep, it happens. It's like, why would anybody do that? I said, well, some kids are just mean and naughty. That's not nice. I know it's not nice. So, okay, so what do we do? Don't let them see this. But they're not in our house. I know, they're in your schools. They're in the churches. What you don't want is anybody touching you in this, and that place. Oh, no, I'm not going to let that happen. And if anybody does, just scream. If you can, hit their hand first. Don't touch me there. Then scream as loud as you can. That person isn't thinking you're going to scream. Because many years ago, I was in a bus. So like I said, because my voice had been stolen when I was in a bus, somebody sat uncomfortably close to me. And I don't know why these things even happen in our churches. You arrange chairs because you want congregation. You lump chairs together. You don't give space. Sometimes I'm standing up to raise my hands to pray. The next person's armpit is blowing into my nose, or their bag is too close. I can't praise God as I want. When you arrange chairs, measure what you call safe personal possible space. Approximate it to, I don't know how many meters away.
Maybe elbow room, baby.
Yeah, good. If a person elbow this way, arm forward, arm backwards, enough space for everybody to be individually comfortable. So I sat down in the bus, and then this person, in the guise of, I won't collect money from my pocket, was using his elbow to brush against my boobs. And I felt uncomfortable. I couldn't talk. He was a grown-up. I didn't know how people would see me. So I looked at him, And he looked at me. When he saw I didn't say anything, he continued. That's why I said, what you will not allow on day 2, don't allow on day 1.
So silence becomes validation.
Yes, exactly. Meanwhile, I was scared. Not that I said, yes, continue. And then they can further go ahead to betray you by saying, Shebi, you like her, you enjoy her, you like that thing. And the child is just confused, afraid, embarrassed. So parents, tell your male children, this is allowed, this is not allowed. Don't do this to a girl child. Don't let anybody do this to you. And then don't lump your children together. Boys' room separate, girls' room separate.
Wow. Thank you very much. Boys' room separate, girls' room separate. Don't give room to temptation.
If you like, let it be your twin sister's child that was born on the same day with your own baby. If it's a boy, let him say. Even if it's a girl, teach them how to respect their own personal boundaries.
What about cases where not on sexual perspective, not from the angle of sexual abuse or whatever, but looking at it from even physical being violent. Okay, the child's mother died or whatever, or the father the mother remarried, like he's married to somebody else.
Remarries.
He remarries, and there's a lot of abuse, both violent, as in
from the new
partner
towards her child,
or it might be the other way
around, her to the man's child upon the demise of his wife.
These are not my biological children. I can deal with you anyhow. How do people deal with that? Because these same scars, these are some people's story too, and scars that you hear some people say, they don't have family, even though they have a father or mother somewhere, they'll marry to somebody else. But in their heart, they are so scarred that they don't want to have anything to do with their parents.
Interestingly, I didn't lose any of my parents to the point of having to go and live with anybody. I only lost my dad when I was pregnant with my first child. I'm grateful to God that he preserved him that long. Sorry to those who lost their parents at a younger age, who had to undergo this kind of inhumane treatment. I don't know. I can't say I know what it's like to grow up with someone who is not your direct parent. But maltreatment is maltreatment.
Yeah, it is.
I remember, okay, you watch these things, especially, you watch them in movies, but the Nigerian movie industry, they are known for shedding lights on these type of situations and show you you cannot prosper when you emit this kind of wickedness on somebody just because they're not your own child. And for crying out loud, where does that concept of not be me born this speaking come from? The story behind the inventor of penicillin came from I think it was a farmer, but he was poor. He was with his son, and here came a rich man and saw him with his son. He had his own son, just told the poor man, let me take your son and raise him. I think the poor man's son had exhibited some form of kindness or respect or something that got the interest of the rich man. So he said, okay, let me adopt your son, which he did. Sent him to the same school as his own son. Eventually, his son fell severely ill, and what they needed for him to be cured at that time, nobody knew. It was this poor man's son that he had sent to school that discovered what they needed to treat the boy, and what he invented was penicillin.
Wow.
Now, had he not extended that arm, he would have subjected, or sentenced his own son to death. He would have been among the parents that buried their own children. So this is me calling out to parents. Because whether you like it or not, you are a parent. Yesterday or the first, it was Mother's Day. I sent Mother's Day to people who aren't even married yet. And some of them said, but I've not given birth. I said, listen, the potential to be a mother is already in you. You just need to nurture it. And so when you see a child, just because you didn't birth them biologically, does not mean that they couldn't have been yours. So when you look at somebody and say the best thing for that person is for you to be wicked to the person, you have robbed your womb of your own blessings. If you watch the Cinderella story, the stepmother said, when she first married, she married because of love. Then her love was taken from her. Then she married the second person. She married for the sake of her children, whom she had with the first husband. But even that man didn't love her as much as his first wife because she had died, and still held on to her memories. And now, because she felt she didn't have the full love of the man, the best thing was to show hatred to. So now that life had been unfair to her. Meanwhile, life, according to her, took her first love from her. Life gave her a second chance at a husband. And the husband had only lost his own wife. So you lost your own love, Abi. He lost his own love. Both of you are trying to meet in the middle place. What is the common factor? Children. The common factor you had there are children. So why didn't you extend love to his daughter the way you loved your own children? Had she even loved her children well, they would have turned out even better than her. But she didn't love her children enough because they were not even as sophisticated as she was. So imagine what the first husband had to put up with. But God, life still gave her, I'm not trying to make it a religious story, life gave her another opportunity to take back the love that she lost. Because the way to this man's heart now eventually was his daughter. But even at that, whatever she felt she had lost, a rich husband, opulence, wealth, opportunities, was all wrapped in that little girl called Ella. And she now transformed that girl from Ella to Cinderella by subjecting her to the place where the cinders were coming out from. She didn't know that in that little girl was the future that could change her life and wipe her tears. So parents that think, not be me born this speaking, so I'm going to suffer them, you have just robbed yourself of a future. And I'm pleading with anybody who finds themselves in a situation where they have to adopt somebody else's child, be kind. Because that kindness you're sowing, you're actually sowing it to yourself. That's it.
It's like whatever you sow in the life of
you
those
will
kids,
reap,
you will reap.
And harvest usually comes plenty. Seed might just be one, but you can't plant one seed of corn and get one seed of corn. You will get bags. You'll get bags.
All right. Thank you very much, Ola. It's been fun as usual having you. And I hope we can do this some other time. Thank you very much.
Definitely.
You guys, you heard healing from the childhood trauma takes quite a bit. If you didn't get it from the beginning, you can watch the podcast again. And don't forget to like, share, and comment on it. Until I see you same time, some other time, next episode. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And do stay upward.
Thank you.